Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thanks for joining us, Head Coach Tom Sawyer. Thanks for doing this again for another year. Of course, we did last week at Wellington's, and now we're back in the studio. You got one game under your belt now from the season, a win against Winona State on the road. Overall, what did you feel about the game? What were some of the things that you liked about what you saw on the field, some things you didn't like?
Yeah, I think the things we liked was we won. And anytime you win in this league on the road, it's a big win. And got it started off right. Our kids played exceptionally hard. We didn't turn the ball over. Our defense created 4 turnovers. So in that part of the game, we were exceptional. I thought our special teams did a great job. We missed one kind of a chip shot field goal, but overall, we kicked the ball well. And flipped the field like we wanted to in most cases. I think offensively we did a nice job controlling the ball. We had some momentum going right into halftime. We took a 2-minute period down that we've been working really hard on and took it down and scored a field goal right before half. And then at the end of the game, we got it put in a 4-minute situation and put the ball on the ground behind Colin and the guys and wasted the clock away and ended the game. So in the momentum piece of it, I thought it went really well. Some things I'm concerned about. Again, just being able to have more big plays. We need to pressure the quarterback a little bit better, and we're so used to that we just didn't get to him a lot, although he did throw the ball out pretty quick the majority of the game. But continue to work on our pressure packages to put a little bit more heat on quarterbacks. I'd like to see for the next week. All
right, let's talk specifics then. Obviously, it was Owen Burke's first start as the starter. He started a couple of games last year in relief and injury relief. How do you feel that he did in his first role this year?
Well, I think he really stepped up from the spring all the way through summer. He was here all summer, and the guys are comfortable around him. So it's like he's been around for 3 years, even though it's his first, like you said, regular start. He played like a veteran. He handled the game really well. I thought he was a little nervous, like normal. A lot of kids were, but he came out, settled down, threw the ball well. And we did get some explosive plays as the game went on. But he managed it, didn't throw any picks. We very seldom did he get hit. He scrambled out when he had to. So for really his first big start, like you said, I thought he handled it very well.
You talked about the scrambling. He was actually, yardage-wise and average per carry, your second leading rusher in the game. Talk about having that dimension as the quarterback.
Well, it does add another dimension to the game. Of course, he was in my office right away on Friday saying that he should run the ball more. But more importantly, I think it's just it extends plays. He's got a good feel for the pocket. He can step up. He can extend it, still find receivers downfield. If not, he's good enough to take off. He had a spin move that I'd like to have him not do anymore. But he is athletic enough to get you first downs when you need it, to extend plays, like I said, especially on third downs. Can really buy you some time that can put a dagger in people.
Now, the rest of the core of your running backs, Javian Roebuck had over 100 yards. I think he had one rush of over 50, and then other ones, one touchdown. Talk about Javian. I know that Cam Keller talked about his explosiveness last week, and you kind of saw that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean he's phenomenal, and he's tough to bring down. And the same thing as he did last year too is where people are bouncing off him. He's so low to the ground, and he's very powerful. And if you don't make that initial tackle, he can get out. And once he slides out one way or the other, he's got the ability and speed to take it to the house, just like he did in that game. So it makes it really a nightmare for people if they're not tackling well, because he will bounce off defenders, and he's very smart and he's powerful. So you add those 2 things or 3 things together, and it makes him for a very, very good back.
Now, he had the bulk of the carries. I think he had maybe half the carries. Was that kind of the plan to go with him, or do you kind of go with the hot hand after you see the first couple plays?
Well, that particular game, we were going in, we were going to share reps the whole time. And part of that was that we knew that it was possibly going to be hot. We knew that it was going to be a long physical game. So we wanted to be healthy at the end and be in position just like we did, where Sam Santiago Lloyd and Eric Berth both had big carries at the end of the game. And then we're also Javian was healthy. So when you got that kind of a day on the road and using all 3 of them, I think really played to our advantage.
All right, let's talk about the receiving game then. Tanner Grand was your leading receiver, catches-wise, 84 yards. He had a touchdown. Talk about the game that he had this week.
Well, I thought he played really well. We're always, each week we come in and we talk about 6 or 7 guys that caught balls, and it was that way again. It's just the way our offense is built. But he did a really nice job sitting down in zones, finding open space, and Owen found him. Took advantage of the defense and got behind it a couple times on the naked route that we ran for a touchdown. He's just got great hands. He's just a good football player from Caledonia, just down the street. But He's an exceptional receiver, and he's learned how to now play within the defensive schemes.
Isaiah Franzen had a couple of catches in the game. I know you want to get the ball in his hands. Do you feel like teams are going to kind of target him and try to make sure that he doesn't get the ball this year?
Yeah, they did a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the best receivers in the league. He made a couple nice catches. We had one tear dropped over the top of him. Might have got away from one more big one, but he's going to draw some double teams throughout the game, and that's okay. We have a lot of other guys, a lot of other weapons in that group. So however it plays out in the game, we'll go. But he's a big-time receiver, and we continue to try to find ways to especially get him over the top of the defenses.
All right, before we move on to defense, we got to talk about Jake Ballou. Kick return, punt return, receiver. I think he even had a carry in the game. Talk about his overall game.
Well, he's just a football player. He's a tough little dude, and he was involved with everything all over the field. His attitude is great. He just loves playing football. He's a kid that just, when he comes to the ballpark, it's like, okay, how many different ways can I help you? And that's just how his attitude is, and you saw that, 185 all-purpose yards, and what he did with it. And plus, we had 2 called back. That would have been, he'd have been about 250 if we wouldn't have had a couple penalties on the returns. But he's just so explosive. It's just fun to watch him.
All right, switch over to defense. One of our guests today, Nick Pridgeon, leading tackler, 8 tackles, 1.5 for a loss. Talk about his game.
Well, he's always a menace on the field. They need to know where he is at all times because he can come off the edge. He played inside linebacker. He played outside linebacker. He's in coverage. He told me during the game he's going to get his hands on one pretty soon. They kind of threw a curl behind him a couple times. But he is such an instinctual type player out on the field with all these years of experience. Definitely one of the best in the league, and he showed it in game 1.
You said that you wanted to get more pressure on the quarterback from the defensive standpoint. You did have 2 sacks against Wayne. Quentin Reed had one, and then Aiken Major and Alex Evans combined on the other one. Talk about those particular plays and how do you get more pressure on the quarterback?
Well, I think that part of it is just the schemes. They were really tight. There was like just a big big wall there, and it was tough. They got big offensive linemen. They just kind of went shoulder to shoulder, and quarterback was in a real short pocket, so it makes it tough to get to. And if the ball comes out in 3 steps, by the time we get there, the ball's already gone. So the sacks that we did have by those kids, they did a nice job just being kind of relentless energy to the quarterback. We finally stepped up and made a couple plays. But the way to get more pressure is to get more people involved with the pressure packages. And we had a couple that we called and they just didn't hit. So we're looking at the timing of those, the disguising of those things, and to continually find more ways within the offensive schemes to get our hands on the quarterback more often.
You talked about the turnover game, and I think you were 3rd in the nation last year in turnovers. 4 turnovers in the game against Wayne, 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries. Talk about trying to get the ball away from the other guys.
Well, it's just always been, for the last 10 years, that's something that we've really prided ourselves on, and on that defensive side is try to create 3 or 4 turnovers per game, and we did it again, and one was for a touchdown, and fumble recovery for a touchdown. So our guys are really, really good at hawking the ball, punching the ball out, ripping it out, whatever they can. And they went through the air. They threw for a bunch of yards, but eventually it was going to catch up with them, and it did. And our kids stepped up and made some nice plays.
All right, special teams. You talked about Paul Ortiz. He was 2 of 3 from field goal range, missed a 32-yarder, but then a 26 and a 34, and averaged about 50 yards on kickoffs. His first game as a Warrior, I know you said that he won the battle during the spring. Tell us about Paul Ortiz.
I thought Paul played really well. That first field goal, I think he was shaking a little bit, and we were teasing him a little bit about it, but that's something he can hit. I mean, he's good from 60, and we just got to give him those opportunities when they come up in a game. But we have complete trust in him. His kickoffs were great. They fair caught most of them. And now with the new rule, if you fair catch inside the 25, they bring it out to the 25. So that actually hurts us. But we'll just do that instead of any big return. So he got the ball where we needed to most of the time, and I'm excited to have him part of our program.
And of course, you got to talk about punting. Michael Russell did a really good job to 5 punts, 42.6 yard average. You come to expect that though from Michael.
We do, and he's worked extremely hard. He's worked his way. He worked his way on the team. And then he worked his way as to now be one of the premier punters in the league and can really flip the field. But that's just from hard work of a kid who decided he wanted to be really good coming out of high school. And here we are 4 years later and really leading that special teams group. So I'm really proud of what Mike has done.
All right, we need to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. When we come back, we'll be back with one of the captains. Nick Pridgeon will join us right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, And as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
NASCAR racing is about a whole lot more than just cars going around a track. It's about people who drive, people who engineer, people who plan, people who know how to put it all together. Meet the people who make the cars go round every week on Raceline. Watch Raceline here every week.
What's a Southern girl? It's waking up before the sun rises. It's loving the simple things in life like the dirt roads that lead you home. It's working hard to get what you want. It's hanging your own stands, breaking your own ground, and strategizing every little move for that one moment when everything you've worked for is standing right in front of you. Even if I fail a million times, I keep pushing myself till I'm exhausted, filthy, and about to give up. And that's when the adrenaline hits.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. Time now to get player perspective, and Nick Bridgen joins us. Thanks for coming back here on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I got to ask you about being a captain. You were selected a captain again this year, so 2 years being a captain. What is that like to get that honor the second time, and do you change the way that you lead being a second-year captain?
No, I mean, my teammates voted me as a captain again because the way it led last year. So, you know, it really makes me happy that they still see me in that light, and so I'm going to keep leading the same way that I did last year.
All right, before I have you ask any questions, what does that mean to you to see somebody get a 2-year captainship?
Well, it's only happened 4 other times in all the years that I've been here, so it's really a prestigious honor. When you get voted on by your teammates, that is something that is really special, and the guys really appreciate it. I know that, and we don't expect anything more out of them, but just go be themselves. And but in the locker room, when they speak, people are listening, and the guys that we had, all 4 of them this year, are guys that we are very proud of their leadership on and off the field.
All right. I want to ask you about something that happened last year. Homecoming game against Wayne State, you had a safety. Yep. Kind of walk us through that and tell us about how exciting is that to get a safety?
Last year it was really fun to get a safety. You know, I didn't realize that I got the safety until I got it up and I realized he was in the end zone. So that was pretty cool. But it was like one of the first plays of the game. Coach called a blitz from my side. I was really happy about it. And I was actually kind of surprised that the tackle didn't set to me. And then I kept going. The quarterback was looking the other way. I was like, all right, perfect. And he turned right back into me, and down he went. So I was pretty happy about that. Yeah.
You know, you look at, you've made a lot of those kind of plays, Nick, in open field. You did it again last Thursday night. But what do you think are the most important things that you bring to the table on the defensive side?
Communication, leadership, obviously, being a captain, but also the speed that I'm able to play with, and at the same time, I can turn that speed into power, and I really think that helps out the defense, playing fast and physical. So,
when we were talking to the coaches last week, we were talking about how dominant the defense has been over the last couple of years at Winona State, up near the top of the categories in the NSIC. From your perspective, why do you think you've been so dominant, and how do you expect that to continue this year?
I think it's just the culture and the mindset that we have as a defense, as a team, as a whole too. We just want to go out there, do our job, communicate, and get after that ball. So really, I think that's what makes us a great defense. We're all bought into that, idea and that culture. So I think that's what's, helped us over the years be one of the top defenses in the nation. So.
Yeah, you look at three of the captains. We have the other one here. Colin is with us today, but 3 of the other captains you 3 are on the defensive side. Now that culture has changed, you're talking about, what do we need to do to continue to grow on the defensive side now that we have a bunch of new players on that defensive side as well?
Really, I just think it's experience, because right now our defense is pretty young. We had a lot of older guys, seniors last year on the defense. So really, I think it's just getting experience, game reps, looks like that. Getting them accustomed to game week. But I think they're all bought into the culture. So really, it's just the experience.
All right. Let's talk about this week against Wayne State. As I said, you led the team in tackles, 1.5 tackles for a loss. Talk about your performance and how you were able to, see the ball and see who was out there and what you did on defense?
Well, I just get into that zone sometimes, and really I didn't realize I had that many tackles until I saw the stat sheet at the end. I was just playing fast and physical like I always try to. There were a couple plays I was really happy with, like the open field tackle. I was able to be in the right place at the right time, even though that was kind of a busted play for the defense. At the same time, I left 2 or 3 plays out there that I should have made, especially being a captain and leader. I know I try and hold myself to a high standard, but I still made a lot of plays, which I'm happy with, but can always get better. So looking to improve this week.
All right.
Last question we have for you, Nick, is Sioux Falls rolling in here, ranked team. We got after them last year out at their place. What do the Warriors have to do defensively to get win number 2?
Can't try and do anything out of our comfort zone, really just do our job. If we try and make plays, go rogue, I really think that's going to open up big plays for them. So I think as long as we do our job, make sure we're focused on us, let the offense take care of the ball on their end. I really think we have a good shot at, holding them to, get that win. So.
All right, thank you, Nick. Appreciate you being on the show. We're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. It's Captain's Week. When we come back, Colin Valley will join us right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See? We told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
Sledhead 24/7. If it happens on the snow, find it here first. Snowmobile destinations, sled evaluations, lifestyles, aftermarket and product reviews, highlighting all aspects of racing, and get the inside coverage on the AMSOIL Championship Snowcross. Sledhead 24/7, where we are everything snowmobile.
I do all my shoe shopping at Rogan's because I know I'll find what I'm looking for and save. You can count on great service, a huge selection, the best name brands, the second pair is half price, and one more thing, a choice in how to save. I can get my second pair half price now, or just save my receipt and come back anytime and get my next pair at half price. Rogan's makes savings easy.
Selection, service, name brands, and the second pair is half price. Visit online at roganshoes.com.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. Time now to talk offense with Colin Valley. We said it's Captain's Week. You were voted one of the captains of the team. What does that mean to you to be a captain this year?
It means a lot. Kind of like Nick was saying, especially since the guys vote on it. It means a lot. But it's just a start, like Nick was saying. Just be yourself, and it's kind of why you're voted there. So, but it means a lot, though.
Does it put any pressure, and I suppose it's good pressure, on you to be even more of a leader than you already are, or to be a mentor to the young players that are coming up? Yeah,
but kind of like Nick was saying, we were voted there for a reason. So I kind of always was, I say that mentor, kind of always was kind of that nice guy. But vocally, yes. I'm not much of a vocal leader, but I'm kind of trying to change that a little bit. But lead by example is a big thing for me, and so I continue to do that. So.
Well, we got one of the things that you're really, really good at is, when you were hurt, you spent a lot of time really coaching those young guys. And now this year we brought in, 7 or 8 offensive linemen that are monsters. And you've been spending a lot of time with those guys. Tell everybody what that's like when you got a group of huge freshman, 18-year-old kids coming into the college world.
I like it, especially because they're all bigger than me. They're all taller than me. It's kind of funny when you look at them like, oh, your size is massive. But I like guiding them. I like telling them not so much what to do, but how to do it. Coach Holtzclaw has done a real good job of establishing the proper way we do things here now, and so I'm just voicing what he says to me onto them. It helps me a lot too. I want to be a teacher, so I get instant feedback whether or not it's working or not. So I mean, it's fun though. I enjoy it. I really do enjoy it.
All right, we were talking last week when we were previewing the season about it's another year, another different quarterback. From your perspective on the offensive line, does that make it any more difficult that you haven't had? I mean, obviously Jack Nelson was there for a long time, and Darren Bankin waited his turn to get there, and you had to restart this year with Owen Burke. But does it make a difference to you who the signal caller is?
Yes and no. For our job, so much it doesn't change. But I mean, I am the center too, so I get to be in contact with him quite a bit, and it does some part, but it's not so much making sure like Owen trusts us, but we have to make sure that he trusts us. So it's us doing our job to make sure he's comfortable. Because if he's not comfortable, then it can be a really long 60 minutes. So it does make a difference, but we've established, last year, like you said, he played 3 games for us when Darren was injured. So he's ready. He's good to go. He's definitely clicking on cylinders. So.
You know, we got 4 out of 5 starting, or guys that have started games for us back in that offensive line, plus Greg Rooney at tight end. So really 5 out of 6 guys have played a lot of football. How valuable is that experience up front?
Huge. It's really big, especially, so like this past year we're going to Wayne, and it's really good to know that other people have seen them before, not so much that, but you know they're also doing their job in the week from Tuesday till Friday. You got to watch film, you have to be able to talk, communicate, and it's real nice to have the older guys on the same. So, for instance, me and Max are the 2 seniors up front, so we rely on the other guys, and it's their job. And like we just say it's their job, but they also know it's their job too. So it's good that they accept that.
All right.
So.
This offseason, you're the winner of Butch Raymond Scholarship, which goes to a player that I think has a 3.2 or above grade point average. You have to be academically a senior this year, and you're going to go into the health field. What did that mean to you to get that scholarship?
It meant a lot, actually. Our person that works with all the athletes, Justin Lohr, said, "Hey, why don't you try this?" And I was like, "Okay." Like, I'll admit, I put some time into it and got it done, and I got picked. So it means a lot. It means that I really do care for the well-being of mostly not just kids, but kids who aren't as fortunate enough. So that's kind of what I want to go into, is help them out, not so much physical health, but more mental health. But it means a lot. It means a lot. The university also picked me to represent them too. So it was a very nice reward. Very, very good.
Oh, and you have 16 schools to pick from, and you're the guy. I mean, that's an incredible feat. Talk a little bit more about your academic track, and just going into, as we're heading into week 2, but how important is the mental aspect of our game? We spend a lot of time on it. From your perspective as a future teacher, how important has that been for our development?
It's huge. I like to think it's an 80-20 game. It's 80% mental, 20% physical, especially all the injuries I got. I got to put it that way. But preparation's big. Coach Keller, Coach Claw hit on every week. But it's so much understanding that you have to understand that you can do the task. We talk about imagery, but you can do the task before you go do the task. So it's getting yourself prepared mentally to not just get through the task, but do it the best of your ability. So it's huge. I like to think it's a big part of the game.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you for joining us here today. We're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show, and when we come back, we'll talk about Sioux Falls and some other things of Warrior football. That's coming up right after this.
Elevate your HBC TV experience with the latest technology to hit your whole home entertainment system. Record up to 6 programs simultaneously and save up to 350 hours of your favorite shows. Pause a program you're watching in one room and pick right up where you left off in another. Video on demand, wireless set-top boxes and mobile device streaming, apps including Alexa, Netflix, YouTube, and more. Call 888-474-9995 to learn more, or visit hbci.com/elevate today. With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often.
Don't miss out on highlights and score updates from your favorite local college and high school athletics by following HBC TV 25 Sports. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get up-to-date information on all the games covered by the HBC sports team. Grab your smartphone and add us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at HBC TV 25 Sports.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. So we heard from the captains. Talk about the captain selection process, because obviously we talked about Nick Bridgen being a 2-time captain, and obviously we saw what it meant to Colin to be named a captain. But how does that process play out?
Well, I think that the first thing we do is I set the stage with the team before we vote, and just talk to about what that leadership role means to the football team, and whether it's out here in the public, on the air, on the radio, those kind of things, but also what's being said in the locker room, and there's no gray area. Either you're a leader or you're not, and so when nobody's looking, it's kind of that integrity piece. When nobody's looking, how are those guys? And I think those are all four of them. You know, Michael Gomez and Michael Ferrante are the other two that weren't here today, but they too lead by example. Michael Gomez a little bit louder, and a little bit more voice activated, but really our guys they just work hard, and I think that's a great example for young kids. So we talk about that, then we let them go vote, and then our staff votes as well, and I tally them up, and they were the 4 selected, but we did have 27 kids that got votes. Wow. So I think that's also an indicator that we have a lot of leadership on the football team, and it doesn't always have to have a C on their jersey to recognize that. But really, we do have some great kids on our football team, and very, very proud to call most of them leaders.
I know we'll probably see them down the road, but talk a little bit about Michael Ferrante and Michael Gomez and what they mean to the team. Michael Gomez might have a chance to be a 2-year captain. Obviously showed himself last year as a sophomore, junior this year being named a captain. Talk about both of them.
Well, they're just energy guys. I mean, you know, Michael Ferrante is he's like a wild dog out there. I mean, he's coming off that edge, and he had some pressures last week, just didn't hit home on the sacks, but he's a game changer, and he just plays as hard as he possibly can all the time, and that's just how he is. And Gomez is one of those silent guys that on the football field where you look out there and he's kind of a short guy and he's got these 6'7" deep, offensive linemen hanging on him, but at the end of the day our linebackers are making tackles all over the place because he's gobbling up too, or he's getting a pressure and a quarterback's flushed out, and he does a lot of work that nobody really recognizes unless you really focus on that interior. But both of those guys are leaders by example, and definitely deserve to be captains of the football team.
All right, just a couple of minutes left in the show. You have your first home game coming up this Saturday, a 1 p.m. start against Sioux Falls. Talk about Sioux Falls and what you know, what you've seen from them from week 1, and what you expect to see this weekend.
Well, they're a good football team. You know, they've been in the playoffs the last 3-4 years. They've been, hunting for the South Division championship along with us and along with Mankato. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at kind of the top 3 teams in the South over the last few years. We expect them to be there again. I think the game last week against Concordia St. Paul at Sioux Falls was a little bit of a shock to them, where they won the game and really with 3 seconds left and threw a pass down the middle that the guy made a nice big play. And that's what good teams do, is find ways to win, and that was one of their games. So we know we have our hands full with them coming into Winona. We're very excited about it to have a nationally ranked team for our home opener, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for people to come out and watch great football.
Of course, you're nationally ranked as well, kind of moving up in those polls. What does that mean to you to have that number by your name?
Well, we've always talked about this. It's kind of a cool thing. Our guys look at it, and I send it out, and I go, well, you kind of go off last year and then this year, and Sioux Falls is ranked 1 spot ahead of us, which is just a little piece of locker room fodder, where they throw that one more thing out there for us to get excited about. But our kids just want to play well, no matter who we're playing against, and it happens to be Sioux Falls. We know it's going to be physical, it's going to be fast, and we got, like Nick said, go do your job, and I think we're going to fare well.
All right, well, one more thing that we have, injury update. How did you do in that first week?
Well, we had a couple. We went into the game. Landon Jacobson was down. Still probably won't play this week. We had a couple other guys go down in the game, but going into the game right now, we hope to be at full strength. We're waiting on a couple guys that are walking around in boots, but a couple ankle sprains. But usually those, after 10 days, they're in pretty good shape. So hopefully be back full strength this week if we possibly can.
All right. Good luck in the home opener this weekend.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for joining us here for the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll see you next week here on HBC TV 25.